In a quiet little town nestled deep in a dense forest, ordinary people lived their everyday lives. During the day, there was peace and tranquility. But at night, especially over the past few months, people were afraid to go outside. It all began with one horrific event. A teenager's body was found on the outskirts of town. The circumstances of his death were so terrifying and mysterious that the police were unable to find any leads for a long time. The only clue found at the crime scene was a red clown shoe, carefully left next to the body. A few weeks later, another murder occurred in the town. This time, the victim was a young woman returning home from work. Her body was found in a park, along with another piece of a clown costume. The townspeople began to panic when they realized that the killer was leaving behind peculiar signatures. These included red noses, colorful wigs, and bright, striped pants. Thus, the legend of the killer clown emerged, living in the shadows and hunting under the cover of night. Over the following months, the fear of the killer clown only grew. People began to notice strange things here and there. Drawings of a smiling clown appeared. These images were crudely drawn on building walls, fences, and even playgrounds. They seemed to mock passers-by, making everyone flinch who dared to look at them. The town's police force tried with all their might to catch the killer, but the clown always slipped away. He was like a ghost appearing out of nowhere and disappearing without a trace. As body after body was found with another element of the clown costume, it became clear that the murderer had no intention of stopping. He seemed to derive pleasure from the fear he instilled in the hearts of the townspeople. Among the town's residents was a young man named Tom. He worked for the local newspaper and was conducting his own investigation, hoping to write a sensational article. Tom had always been interested in mysteries and eerie stories, and the case of the killer clown was his chance to make a name for himself. He began looking for patterns in the killer's actions and noticed that the attacks occurred near carnival grounds and circus arenas where a traveling circus once performed. One evening, while sitting in the library, Tom stumbled upon an old newspaper dated several years ago. It reported on a tragic accident in a circus arena when a clown named Ronald died as a result of a failed trick. His death was a tragedy for his colleagues, but the circus soon left town, leaving only memories behind. Tom started connecting this event with the current murders. He wondered, could the killer clown be somehow linked to that tragedy? Perhaps someone close to Ronald was seeking revenge on the town's residents for his death. Or worse, had Ronald himself returned from the dead to claim those who were once the cause of his demise? To confirm his suspicions, Tom decided to visit the old warehouse on the outskirts of town where the circus props were once stored. Through the grimy windows, broken carousels, tattered tents, and dusty crates could be seen. As Tom entered, he felt a chill of terror wash over him. The space was filled with a musty odor, and each step echoed in the silence. While exploring the premises, Tom stumbled upon a diary that likely belonged to Ronald. The pages were filled with bitterness and despair. In the diary, the clown described how he suffered from the ridicule and humiliation of his colleagues and how his heart was broken. However, the final entry seemed especially disturbing. It spoke of plans to bring justice and restore his name at any cost. Realizing he was on the right track, Tom began to fear for his life. The killer probably knew about his investigation and could be watching him. The boy felt fear grip him anew, but the determination to uncover the truth was stronger. He gathered all his findings and went to the police, hoping they would help him stop the killer clown. However, the police were skeptical of Tom's story. They had no evidence to support his theory, and without solid proof, they couldn't start an investigation. Disappointed but undeterred, Tom decided to act on his own. He understood that he had to finish what he started and prevent another murder. That evening, he went to one of the abandoned places where the circus used to perform. A frightening silence surrounded him, broken only by the rustle of leaves. Tom felt that the killer was nearby. His heart was pounding in his chest, and each step felt like his last. Suddenly, Tom heard a quiet laugh. He turned around but saw only a shadow flitting among the trees. Tom followed it, trying not to lose sight. His breath became ragged when he saw a figure in a bright clown costume standing not far away. The clown slowly turned toward him, and Tom felt a chill run down his spine. The clown started moving toward Tom, his steps smooth and graceful, as if he were on stage. Tom tried to run, but his legs felt rooted to the ground. He realized he had nowhere to run and would have to face this horror head-on. The clown stopped a few steps away from Tom, his face hidden under a mask of a bright smile. Yet fury and hatred burned in his eyes. Tom summoned all his courage and shouted that he knew the truth about Ronald and his tragedy. He hoped this would stop the killer, but the clown only laughed in response. At that moment, Tom realized he was facing not a man but a being possessed by revenge and a thirst for blood. The clown was the embodiment of all nightmares, and his goal was simple: to inflict pain and suffering on those left in this world. Tom felt fear gripping him anew, but he couldn't give up. Suddenly, the clown lunged at Tom, his hands stretching out like claws. Tom tried to defend himself, but the clown was faster and stronger. The blow that followed knocked the wind out of him, and he fell to the ground. His vision darkened, and there was a ringing in his ears. When Tom came to, he saw that he was lying alone on the ground. The clown had vanished, leaving behind only scars and fear. Tom realized he had survived, but the cost was too high. The killer was still at large, and Tom knew his nightmare was just beginning. He returned to town, but everything was the same. The residents lived in fear, and every night the streets emptied when the clown went on the hunt. Tom understood that his fight was just beginning, and that he must find a way to stop the killer before it was too late. Time passed, and the murders continued. Each new case reminded Tom of his failure, and he felt hope slipping from his grasp. Soon, the town became a place where fear became a part of everyday life, and people stopped believing in justice. Eventually, Tom decided he could no longer stay in this town. He packed his things and left, leaving the shadows of the past behind. However, the fear and pain stayed with him forever, a reminder that evil always finds a way to return. The killer clown continued to hunt, and no one knew when or where he would appear next.